Okay, we're gonna continue on with public forum. Next, first up, we have Nick Donaldson.
Okay. Good evening, everybody at Pueblo. Kind of just make it going quick. I got all you guys' emails. So I can email you this information so you can see at hand. Okay. So I'm going over. Just give me like 24, 48 hours so I can do my stuff to get that to you. You will be attached, whether you like it or not, honestly. It's for an ROI. So you'll have Senator Bennett and my attorney on there. You just carbon paste it. But I figure you can't really ignore veterans anymore. So I'm just going to bring it to hand. Got a letter May 11th saying I don't have a PCP anymore. Go to the ER. So I have. So I've racked up probably, and I'm 100%, so I don't pay anything, but thousands of dollars easily in the past month, easy. It took the VA, by the way, TRICARE West over a month to contact me. Chief, just a heads up, over 700 veterans don't have their PCP because of that doctor. And that's just there, and I guarantee it's 1,000 plus. And that's what TRICARE West said. And so just to let you guys know, my 5 years being here as a vet has been very not appreciated, I would say. It's not vet friendly. Because 5 years I've come here, only out of the 5 years I've complained of stuff like this, only once has someone come up here, Bob Schelling, try to do some, and it kind of fell on deaf ears after that. But we got that taken care of because the attorney, I gave that to you guys, showing back in 2016 that VA needed to be retrained and requalified. But getting forward again, taxpayers here just got charged. I don't know how much they pay. They're taking the bill, not me. So you guys are taking that. Here's one for $1,485. By the way, because VA didn't sign contract and stuff, Chief, if it's CommuniCare only, then the VA will send it from Golden. They mail it in only. If it's an ER clinic, we have to pay out of pocket because they didn't sign contract with anybody here. So I got the proof of that. And what we're told, Chief, is you got to sign this document here, go to the VA for a reimbursement. I've done this for years. It hasn't changed. Average time for reimbursement is 6 months to a year. VA already owes me about $500 in prescription and medications back pay. Right there. We're not even talking about other stuff. So, and then here's another issue. Your hospitals, you guys are losing specialty. We're getting flushed down to Denver. You guys are losing money. You're going to lose benefits. So this is why you can't hold us here. Why it's hard for a veteran. I love Pueblo. Pueblo's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to dish on it. Pueblo is worth it. But you guys got to start getting involved with the VA. You got a federal facility that is losing nurses, losing doctors every year. And I deal with this every year. And you guys deal with this stuff here. And so I handle with the VA. I know you guys are getting Doug Fitzgerald in. I worked with Doug Fitzgerald before you guys even got him in, and you didn't care to listen to him before. And I was bringing that stuff in. So not only do I got to sign that stuff, send this stuff. So to do that reimbursement form, I can't go down to the VA there. I have to mail this stuff into Denver. That costs money. So if you got a homeless vet that doesn't have their stuff in order, because talk to my attorney, Greta Grata, who you're going to talk to, it took 10 years getting out of the wars, VA, to finally get some benefits going. And then after getting an attorney, it took another 5 years to get my full benefits, 15 years. That data hasn't changed. Hasn't changed. You guys still have 17 veterans a day popping themselves. Easy in America. And so what I've been doing as a vet, I've helped thousands, guys, and I do it worldwide. I'm going to have you try to help me, and I'm going to talk to the chief. I need your guys' help to get this Mission Daybreak going for veteran suicide. It's a $3 million first prize. It's $11 million altogether. But I'm going to get that going. It's due July 8th. But I'll tell you guys don't have the services here. And if we're told to get down to Springs, get down to Denver, what's the point of staying here? We're literally I was to do the chest, the respiratory stuff here. I had to go down to Golden. 3-hour drive one way. But guys, if that's it, they can't even get benefits. And finally touching this, before I got out, 10 medals, 12 medals. After filing 15 years later, oh, they gave me my 20 plus finally.
Thank you, Mr. Donaldson. Your time is up.
So I need you guys' help. If not, I mean, just stop using us as benefit, please. It's a spit in the face.
Next up, we have Joyce and Tilly. Jocelyn, did I miss Jocelyn? Got it.
Okay, I get it a lot. Okay, so I just wanted to start off with telling all of you how much I love Pueblo. I grew up here. My husband and I have chosen to raise our children here. Pueblo is beautiful and full of amazing people. I am extremely proud to be a part of this community. With that being said, I'm extremely frustrated, angry, and fed up with the amount of destruction, theft, harassment, and violent acts caused by the homeless population here. I cannot go to the grocery store, get gas, drive my car, or really do anything else with my kids without being harassed for money, food, or a ride. My kids deserve to be able to do everyday things without having to fear for our safety. Recently, I had gotten a flat tire and pulled off onto the I-25 frontage road, kind of by like the brick factory and like the mattress where that fire was not that long ago. And in less than 12 hours, my vehicle had been vandalized, stolen from twice in broad daylight. It was almost about $1,000 worth of damage. And the police department had tagged it as a abandoned vehicle as it was clearly broken into and I was not notified. Nothing was done. It was just gotten a sticker with. But after speaking with several small local businesses in the area, the One and Done Audio Works, the Country Canine Resort, the Front Range Roofing, Wayne's Towing, and the American Battery, I've come to realize that the vagrants living in the homeless camps in that area have caused a lot more than $1,000 worth of damage. Each business has the same story, but with different details. Their businesses have been broken into more times than they can remember. There's trash everywhere back there. Fences have been cut, their vehicles have been stolen, physical altercations, and of course the fires that have threatened their structures. Unfortunately, Mayor Gradisar and council members, me and the business people have come to the consensus of really just giving up hope that you guys care enough about those citizens there that voted you guys in and the local businesses that continue to help Pueblo thrive to take real productive action against this. This is an issue that all of you are aware of, I'm sure. These businesses email you guys, call you repeatedly. You know, I'm sure you all know who I'm talking about. They're trying to protect their livelihood. Minimal help has been offered, but it is not fixing the real problems in that area or really anywhere else in Pueblo. And I do understand that all of these businesses are going to be relocating because of the expansion there, but their mindset is, oh, well, we just have a year. Why make a big deal out of it? We're just going to have to live with it for the next year. But that's really not that fair. They shouldn't have to deal with that for any time at all. I mean, what's going to happen when the buildings that they're in, they move out, it's going to be vacant, but it's not yet demolished. There are going to be squatters in there, just like they are at the hangar. We cannot ignore this. This is a problem affecting all of Pueblo. Allowing the homeless to make camp, break laws, and do whatever they please does not improve anybody's quality of life. Not my family's, not the business owners, not yours, and certainly not the homeless. Mayor Gradisar and council members, I want you to prove us all wrong and show us that you do care by sharing a new plan and implementing it on what you are going to do to help these local businesses and prevent other innocent citizens from becoming victims like my family. A few solutions mentioned to me by these businesses and other citizens are to have consistent nighttime patrol from the Pueblo Police Department, hold these criminals accountable by enforcing the law and their punishments, and mitigating that whole area back there where the trees and brushes are. I don't know if any of you have driven by there recently. I wouldn't. It's terrifying. they're everywhere back there. The trash, the cars, it's awful. But mitigate that whole area and not just sections at a time like you guys have done before, but all of it. And they also mentioned like a big barbed wire fence between the train tracks and their businesses. And I do realize this is not just your fault and the mayor's fault. It's a multi-agency failure that has led to these issues. But I know that you guys can change it. You and the mayor, you guys can start that change. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Tilly. Next up, Mr. Elvis Martinez.
Well, I have a different speech tonight and it might take some people at surprise, but I want to thank Councilwoman Maestre for the past couple of weeks working on with the ballot issue that I brought up last time and with the other people that we also worked with. And everybody already has their ballot turned in hopefully, and the election is tomorrow. And I'm not saying how to vote, of course I can't, but if people want change in the county, vote for change, and that's how other people could get elected, whether they're Republican or Democrat. And we all could come together. And I also want to say a thank you to Sean Rice with News 13 for working with Council Maestre, myself, and others on getting the story out on the ballots and everything. Okay, that's it.
That's it.
Yep. Short and simple tonight.
Okay, our final public forum is it Yvette Tafoya? Come on down.
Hello, hello, hello. Hi. So I just wanted to come and speak on behalf of the East Side. So born and raised, love it. Have chosen to stay on the East Side. But Span School, like 3500 East 10th Street. Anybody familiar with Span School? It has become a unsafe zone, especially for our children. There is just a ton of children that go, and they're little kids to, I want to say, high school individuals that are now playing and probably having some fun at the school. But I probably like 3 spaces down from the building, and you could hear glass breaking. There's hardly any glass anymore. The police have been out there. They just had the fire department out there last week, and they're starting fires in there. It is overwhelming with an odor, and they're starting to use it as a dumpster. There's the furniture, trash everywhere. And I guess my only concern really is I guess we can overlook some of that, but the children. I think somebody's going to get seriously hurt in there, and I would love for any of you just to even drive by it and just take a look for yourself. Like I said, I grew up there, and I'm just totally in shock. And it's horrifying and it's scary. And I stopped walking around the school now. However, I do drive by there, and I just continue to get more and more concerned. And tonight I started making calls and sending some emails, and I sent an email, and I called Larry Atencio. I got a hold of Ron Cerna, and he said, City Council is meeting tonight, come. And that's why I'm here. So I didn't prepare an agenda. I'm just asking you for help. Please drive by there. Please see it for yourselves and save our children, because they're coming from all over the east side and probably from other sides of town, and somebody's going to get seriously hurt there if they haven't already. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, that does it for a public forum. Ms. Solano, do you have anything from the mayor?
Madam President, City Council, I have 2 updates from the mayor. And first, so that it is back on the City Council agenda, the notice received from Counselor Atencio that he did test positive for COVID and he hasn't felt well for the last 2 days. He's not able to attend the meeting this evening. And also the mayor was exposed this past weekend. He is fully vaccinated and fully boosted and is practicing the appropriate protocol. And then the mayor did send a message that is regarding condolences for Scott as well, and I'll read it for Scott's family. The entire community lost a treasure with the passing of Scott Richards. I recently came to know Scott after I became mayor as the person responsible for AV for the broadcast of city council meetings. Once COVID hit, I spent time with him every week in the studio recording a message to the community. I always told him his job was to make me look good, and he never failed. I will miss his quiet, unassuming professional manner. I send heartfelt condolences to his family. And on behalf of myself and other city staff, I've worked with Scott for the past 20 years, the IT staff as well, and we'd like to send condolences to his family. Thank you. And that concludes the mayor's update.
Thank you, Ms. Solano. Counselor Winter?
I really don't have anything planned tonight. I was just going to kind of skip on my council comments, but just to just comment on the two public forum comments about homelessness and that whole issue. I agree. I think it's worse now than it's ever been. It's probably because, and it's all of Colorado. Denver's really, really bad. And it kind of came about when Colorado was accepting all those funds for heroin treatments, that kind of thing, where they actually have people out recruiting, trying to get them into rehabs and things like that. So it's like you said, it's kind of a failure of a lot of different services. We had the health department in here a few weeks ago, and they were talking about how they had applied for a grant to address this heroin issue, and they were going to create a plan. And and that they hoped that it would work. And my comment was, well, you know what hope is, don't you? Hope is what you have when reality has left you absolutely nothing. So what we're doing is not working, and we continue to do the same thing over and over and over. One thing that I tried to get passed in 2016, 2017, and 2020 that was brought up into council was the issue of traffic impediment. There's a lot of cities that have passed an ordinance that says that if you hand money or any kind of personal item from your running vehicle at a stoplight to an individual, you as a driver are impeding traffic and creating a dangerous situation. So many cities have passed that ordinance, and we just can't seem to get it past our law department to look at it, or even council to, I guess, listen to it when the law department won't look at it. So I guess I can bring that forward again. A lot of these folks, they panhandle, they get enough money for drugs and a hotel, and then that's it for the day. And they can collect enough money in a really short period of time at your really, really busy intersections. So what I liked is Provo had introduced this ordinance. I think they were one of the first cities because they had a big problem. And what they would do is they would have a motorcycle cop at intersections that would radio somebody around the corner. And if they had given money to someone, they would get pulled over. And they were given not a citation, but a business card that says, here's the organizations in town that you can donate to really help with the situation. Because you're really not helping that individual situation by just handing over the money. So anyway, maybe we can bring that up again. But as soon as you start messing with somebody's time when they got to get to work or they have other things to do, they'll stop giving the money. Also, their ordinances would be no violation the first time, and then it would go up from there. So if they caught you the second time, it would be, say, $150, the third time, $300, and it would go up and up. And that really solved a lot of problems. I guess they moved on and they were somebody else's problem, probably ours now, since a lot of other cities have eliminated that. But maybe we can take a look at that again. That might be some issue. We do need to get these buildings that are vacant, that are full of people inside. We need to get those boarded up. So we'll have, Laura can send a message over to code enforcement to get at least the middle school that you mentioned, to get that boarded up. The hangar is full of people. I noticed that. It's a huge problem. I go grocery shopping in the county. I go out to Legrees because I get stopped all the time. I get harassed all the time. It's concerning. So, well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, okay. I don't know. Maybe we can bring that discussion up again.
Counselor Flores.
Yeah, I want to talk about Scott Richards a little bit. I met Scott probably 25 years ago. He was a media specialist at Pueblo Community College. And what I remember the most about Mr. Richards was his patience. At that time, I was helping my wife with the Pueblo Hispanic Education Foundation, and we actually had a telethon. And he was always in charge of the whole thing, and where everyone else was panicked. I mean, he was totally calm, and after it was all over with, it turned out pretty great. He was just an amazing guy. But here in Pueblo, I wanted to recognize Scott because what gives this government, the city of Pueblo government, transparency was our ability to have this video set up so that anybody in Pueblo can watch our city council, see what we're doing, see what the citizens are concerned about. And he sacrificed really all of his Mondays. And I don't know how long he did it for the city, but he sacrificed all of his Mondays to make sure that, that we were on cable television so that citizens could see the operation of city council. And I just wanted to extend my sympathy to his family. I think he was such a gentleman. I was really shocked when I found out about his death because we had just seen him a few weeks ago. And, but in any event, I just wanted to say a couple of more things. One, I really want this council to consider providing some funds to a scholarship fund that's going to be set up at PCC. I think that we should have that out of our contingency fund for city council. I'm thinking, to start off the fund for him. And I also think that this room back here, which is where he lived, he never was out in public, but he made everything up here look good. And but I really think we ought to consider naming that room after Scott Richards. I mean, that's how significant a man I think he was to this city. And he's going to be sorely missed, and to his family, I just want to extend my sympathy. We've lost a really great man here in Pueblo, and I'm going to miss him. So thank you.
Yeah, Counselor.
I know that Regina is next, and I just want to thank Regina as well as what Elvis had thanked her for just bringing the attention to the Secretary of State for these ballot issues. And I'm hoping that you can explain a little bit about what that took. Thank you, Regina.
Counselor Maestri.
First off, I don't want the public to think that City Council ignores the needs of the veterans. Veterans go to the Congress person and the state senator here. They have offices here in this district located here in Pueblo. That's where they need to go because that's where they can get the most response. Those are the offices that have the power to do something for veterans. We all have all sorts of veteran support services that City Council supports. And so I just don't want the public to think that it falls upon deaf ears here at all. We support both our congresswomen and our senators if they're needing us to just join their forces in order to keep the veteran services here. Also, I would like to address the issue with the trash and the homelessness. I brought this up at the work session last week. I'd really liked for us to create a department that, not a department, but a budget for the city to maintain their own properties. We have so many city properties that are not maintained, and they're happening down there behind King Supers, and they're all over the place. I had a person who recently purchased some property on the north side, and they're building a new business. They're getting ready to build a new business, and they were cited by code enforcement. And there's a city property right next to theirs. They were cited for weeds, a city property that was full of weeds, full of needles, full of trash, full of homeless people camping there. And if we need to create an extension of one of the departments here, then we as city council probably just need to take this into our own hands and get it done. Create a budget and authorize one of our departments to take care of some of this stuff and reduce what's going on. Our taxpayers, they step up for every initiative, and they pay the extra taxes to bring improvements to Pueblo, and we need to utilize their money just to start cleaning up our city. We don't need to ask for volunteers to clean up hazardous waste such as needles, people's buckets of urine and feces, trash that the rats have gone through. We need people who are specialized hazmat people to clean up a lot of these areas. We need to reduce the risk of fire in all of these areas by taking out the weeds, the trash. Once we remove the weeds and the brush and the debris, there's less places for people to hide. Since my last meeting, you can't go to the grocery store, you can't go out to dinner without somebody approaching you and talking about the trash. So do we bring a resolution forward and get that done and ask that they create the department? I'm asking you because I'm new, so I'd like to know what we could do there. That's number one. And then last and foremost, so Mr. Martinez came to me at the last council session, and he had a ballot that didn't have the correct House district on it. And so we took it to the Board of County Commissioners, and they let us know that they were not, they cannot do anything about another elected office. So where do you go from there? It did get the elections board to call Mr. Martinez back after they told him the first time, you know, too bad, so sad, we've redistricted and this is your new district, your new House district. They did call back. They did admit to the problem. They were on the news, our clerk and recorder, and stated that it was an isolated incident. I'm very well versed with the maps and the redistricting. And so at that point, one of my candidates, House District 46, it was his House district. He did a small audit to a portion of it. And at that point, I provided a letter for the candidates to submit to the Secretary of State. One of the questions was, and here is what it matters here in the city, because we have elections next year. And what I've seemed to take from all of this, because I had a question from the Secretary of State and a question from the manager of the elections department here, same question. Where did you get the map to find this information, to discover these discrepancies? it's the Colorado State Supreme Court approved map for redistricting. So they couldn't find the mistake because when they were going through their system, their stuff still matched. We need to make sure for our election that the city maps are updated. They have not been updated. We have to redistrict from the state redistricting as a city municipality. We have to redistrict our areas, our city, according to the redistricting that they did because of the census. So we have higher population. We have to redistrict here. And we may even have different areas that each one of the 1, 2, 3, and 4 cover. We have about 10 or 11 new precincts within the city. And if all this information isn't calculated and the maps aren't done, then the ballots will not be programmed to be putting people in the right district. And so as city council, we need to bring a resolution forward so that we can get the maps updated, because we have to be ready by May of next year in order to be ready for the 2023 election. You have 2 years by law to redistrict locally, and in August, 1 year is going to have passed by. So we have to redistrict and make sure everything is correct before, so that when we have the mayoral election and we have at large, and I think Mr. Atencio's up for re-election, that all of the districts and everything are in place. And that's the end of that story, but it is a lot of hard work. So I think our elections department is the one that handles the redistricting, is from what I read here in the city charter.
Yeah, I handle the redistricting, and if I'm happy to respond if you want to give me a moment.
Okay.
So the plan is to redistrict next year. We did not redistrict this year because there is no district votes, district specific votes. So there didn't seem it to be any urgency. And we would have redistrict last year based on the population numbers if it wasn't for the delayed census. So the plan is to redistrict in May of next year and to have the GIS run those maps as they have done in the past.
Okay. All right, then. Just make sure they're using the Supreme Court reason. Yes. Thank you.
Councilor Martinez.
Well, first, I want to echo the sentiment and the condolences to Scott's family. I know that Councilor Flores briefly spoke about the scholarship at PCC. I believe that's actually an active scholarship right now. So if you're wanting to contribute to that scholarship for like marketing or media, it's going to be PuebloCCFoundation.org is how to get a hold of that, because it's run through the PCC Foundation office. I also wanted to say that in the last week, I took a tour of the new and the old buildings for the San Greta Cristo apartments off of Prairie and Northern area. They're managed by the Housing Authority. So I wanted to thank the Housing Authority for taking me around. They were first actually constructed in 1953. So those are the red bricks that you see. And actually it's the last phase that they're going to complete is actually along the Prairie. So that's why you still see the red brick buildings today, but it's their last phase. So if you actually drive back there, you'll see brand new apartment buildings, brand new development. They look absolutely gorgeous. Because they were built in 1953, there's brand new air conditioning. The units have their own washer and dryer hookup. So beforehand, it was all 224 units who had to compete for one washer and dryer room, whereas now each individual unit has their own washer dryer hookup. And one of my favorite things was they actually had their own designated space outside. So they had their own balcony, they can build their own garden. And I recognize in talking with the Housing Authority, their wait list is so long. in terms of getting people who need low income and affordable rent and housing, it's really long. But we'll actually be learning tonight about the cottages at Park West. They're going to be taking the vouchers that the Housing Authority provides. So that's going to help to free up that wait list. Additionally, the Fuel and Iron building, which is the building that's downtown on Union, the old Holmes Hardware building, that too is getting renovated into apartments to also take vouchers from the Housing Authority. So there's a lot of new developments that are coming that's going to help to free up that wait list and to provide more low income and affordable housing, which we're obviously need. So pretty exciting there. I also just want to say that, you know, that we're quickly approaching the 4th of July, and happy 4th of July to everyone. As a dog owner, I want to make sure that we're being respectful and mindful of our neighbors for fireworks. So, you know, the Riverwalk has an excellent, spectacular fireworks show downtown. So I hope that that's where you get your fix of aerials. Otherwise, please be mindful of your furry friends and your bees. And it can even be triggered. The loud booms can even be triggering to vets. So please just be mindful this year. But happy 4th.
Thank you. Councilor Martinez Ortega.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a few things to report out on this week or this meeting. On Saturday, I had joined the Pueblo Fire Department, the Red Cross, and other volunteers to go out for this Sound the Alarm event, where we would go and check people's smoke detectors, go canvass their house, check their smoke detectors, make a plan of action on how to escape from your home. If there's a fire, you need 2 different exits out of each room, a meeting place outside of your home or wherever, so you know how to account for everybody. These simple little these simple plans that we're able to make ahead of time, and switching out the smoke detectors. It was really phenomenal to see all these folks come together to really make sure that our community stays safe and working on mitigating issues rather than being so reactive to them. 35 plus volunteers changed out 60 or 86 alarms in 46 different homes, and now 111 Puebloans are now safe because of these efforts by these 35 plus folks. So congratulations to the Red Cross, the volunteers, and the Pueblo Fire Department. Thank you so much. I also would like to give my congratulations to the Petro McCauley Memorial Remembrance Celebration Committee. This is for folks who have unstable housing. They're able to get some resources for this issue. And those were haircuts, LEAP, and other social services that they have access to, clothing, food. If you had a pet that you needed a quick look from, there were those folks with the unstable housing were able to take them to that one-stop location. And, you know, I'll just delve into this really quickly. Last night, somebody who did not have stable housing actually expressed their needs to us, to me. And it was unbeknownst to them that I was actually a city council member that they were complaining about, who think that we went through and bulldozed their area, displacing kittens from their mother, taking days, if not weeks, to find, and some of the kittens dying off, people's belongings gone. And this is right by the Fountain Creek. And one thing that they expressed that they needed were dumpsters, because they do want to throw their trash away responsibly. They need clean water to be able to drink. They need porta potties to have access to, so they're not defecating around the river. You know, just simple things like those basic human necessities. So that is from the unstable housing folks. So maybe we can figure out how to work towards that. I'm already working with the county commissioners on looking into that. Lastly, I will be having my second town hall for the year on June 30th, Thursday, 12 to 2. We're going to have paletas in the park. Translation, Mexican popsicles in the park. We'll be there from 12 to 2. And it'll be a very informal meet and greet with city councilors. I'm going to get a department head there, Department of Transit. And that'll be at the Ray Aguilera Bessemer Park from 12 to 2. It'll be a very formal, no formal agenda setting. We'll just hang out, talk, and have some popsicles. And just listen to concerns and see what we could be doing better, things like that. That's all I got.
Thank you. Okay, so as far as the homeless and the cleanup down there, the council did approve, earlier this month, in the last 6 weeks, the $300,000 out of the ARPA funds to mitigate some of that trash cleanup. We did spend some of it on our big trash cleanup, but we do have those funds available. So I think what we should do is try to get a plan together. We've passed it, we have the funding, so let's get a plan and get some cleanup going down for those folks down there. Next, I wanted to echo on the fireworks at the Riverwalk again this year. This is a free event to the community provided by the city and numerous sponsors throughout the community. It starts at 4 o'clock. The Pueblo Symphony will be playing down there along with a couple other live music bands. I've got several emails from concerned citizens about the dryness in the community and us even allowing fireworks. And so I hope that people are at home being, safe with the fireworks, and maybe we can get a lot of people down at the Riverwalk to watch the fireworks show, so we can not have to worry about, burning up the town, because that would be awful. And then my last update is a couple months ago, we had somebody in here talking about the elections and, voter rolls and what's going on at the county clerk and recorder's office. And it is important to the city because the city does contract with the county to run our elections, just so everybody's clear on that. And I brought up the point that my husband's deceased parents were still receiving ballots. And so this was probably in January. And I just wanted to give the update that last week I received the ballot again. Therefore, the voter rolls are not being cleaned up. It's been 13 years. We're all sitting up here because of elections. And a lot of people are in high power because of elections. So with tomorrow being the primary, I want to encourage everybody to do your research if you haven't already voted, and take the time, Republican or Democrat. We have some stellar people out there looking to fill these seats. And I think it's important that the citizens take it amongst themselves to do the research and follow through this year to clean up stuff like this, because I don't think that we should still be receiving ballots from people that, passed away 13 years ago. I think that's important. That's all I have. Is there any other comments or questions or? Councilor Maestri, did you have?
Yes, these mistakes generated several ballots per individual with no explanation as to why they got several ballots, 2, 3, 4 ballots. And so they could just pick any ballot and send it in, and it could be the wrong one. And then that would void the entire ballot, and then none of the candidates on the ballots would receive a vote. Also, people know, a lot of people know the party that I'm affiliated with, but I will tell you that because in our primary, most of the candidates in my party were singular candidates. It doesn't really affect them in this primary. It really affected anyone who primaried against another. And so this was not a partisan issue. It was an issue that was brought forth because, and I'm not in this race, but my constituents are. This is their opportunity to vote, to do what they want, vote for the representation that they want in the area that they live in. And that's really all that should matter in this, is that the voters are not disenfranchised because their ballots are incorrect, and they're not disenfranchised because they receive multiple ballots and they send one in and it might be the wrong one. And that was the reason for this movement. Thank you.
Counselor Martinez Ortega.
Yes, quickly. Thank you, Counselor Maestri, for reminding me of a quick PSA. If you get a ballot with a red line on the top, that means that you need to verify your signature with a copy of your ID. And so if you have a red ballot or a red bar on the top of your ballot, just send in a photocopy of your ID. And if you receive multiple ballots, 2 different ballots, that means you're an unaffiliated voter. And so you could only take part in one primary, you can only turn in one primary ballot or both of your ballots. If you pick some from one and then some from the other and trying to turn those in, your ballots will be discarded. So if you receive multiple ballots, you're an unaffiliated voter, and just turn the one ballot in. That's it.
Great. Thank you, City Council, for cleaning up the election. And the town. All right, so now we're moving on to review and approval of the agenda. We're gonna go page by page. Stop me if you need something pulled. Page 1. Page 2.
I'd like to pull it in forward. And I'd like to have a presentation on it. M4.
Yeah. Councilman Maestri, are you wanting to pull it from the consent agenda, the resolutions?
Yes.
Madam President, may I ask for clarification as well? Would you also like a work session? You would like discussion this evening and then a subsequent work session?
Yes, I'd like the public to know how they approved the 100,000 and it's reached up to 680,000 for design services. Yes. Yes. Mhm.
Thank you.
Page 3. Page 4. Page 5.
Madam President, staff requests that item number Q1 of the resolution be removed from this agenda. There is still some contract agreement to be made, and we'll be placing it back on a future agenda.
Okay,
Q1.
Q1. Page 6. Page 7. And page 8. Okay, great. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as edited?
I make a motion to amend the agenda to pull item M4 to the regular agenda and to remove item Q1 until a future regular meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote. Passes 6-0. Reading and approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion to dispense?
I move to dispense with the reading and approve the minutes of the regular meeting dated Monday, June 13th, 2022 is distributed.
Have a second? Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0. Madam Clerk, consent agenda.
L communications, L1 none submitted, M resolutions. Item M1, a resolution awarding construction contract in the amount of $119,381.16 to Merriman Landworks DBA Flat and Fancy and setting forth $15,000 for contingencies for project number 22-045, miscellaneous concrete repairs and authorizing the purchasing agent to execute same. Item M2, a resolution awarding construction contract in the amount of $81,710 to Alpine Roofing LTD and setting forth $13,290 for contingencies for project number 22-049, Pueblo Art Guild Museum roof on authorizing the purchasing agent to execute same. Item M3, a resolution awarding an agreement for professional services in the amount of $225,158 to Denakili Management Group Corp., a Colorado corporation for project representation, design review support, and construction inspection services for new fire stations 6, 8, and 11. Project number CI 2205 and authorizing the purchasing agent to execute same. Item M5, a resolution awarding construction contract in the amount of $227,017 to Desco Acquisitions LLC, DBA Black Eagle Energy Services, and setting for $22,701 for contingencies for project number 22-029 WWAN04. Fiscal year 2022 water reclamation facility equipment upgrade project at the James Diorio Water Reclamation Facility and authorizing the purchasing agent to execute same. Item M6, a resolution approving agreements for professional mechanical, electrical, and plumbing MEP engineering service projects between Pueblo Municipal Corporation and BCER Engineering Inc., Plant Engineering Consultants, and Bridger and Paxton for project number 22-013, MEP Engineering Consulting Services for city facilities and authorizing the purchasing agent to execute same. Item M7, a resolution authorizing the issuance of a revocable permit to the Hart Foundation for the use of Allen Hamel Avenue from South Union Avenue to Santa Fe Drive and Main Street from B Street to City Center Drive on July 4th, 2022 to host their annual 4th of July fireworks celebration. Item M8, a resolution confirming the appointment by the mayor of Patrick Avalos to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Item M9, a resolution confirming the appointment by the mayor of Yvonne Lujan Sack to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Item M10, a resolution confirming the appointment by the mayor of Susan McCarthy to the Historic Preservations Commission. Item N1, ordinances, first presentation. Item N1, an ordinance approving an agreement between the City of Pueblo, a Colorado Municipal Corporation, and the Pueblo Development Foundation, a Colorado nonprofit corporation relating to a job creating capital improvement project, authorizing the mayor to execute said agreement and transferring $8,500,000 from the 1992 to 2026 Sales and Use Tax Capital Improvement Projects Fund for purposes thereof. Item N2, an ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to sign a subrecipient agreement between the City of Pueblo, a Colorado Municipal Corporation, and the Board of Waterworks Colorado, as authorized by Section 603 of the American Rescue Plan Act and U.S. Treasury Fund Rule 31 CFR 35.6, and authorizing the payment of $127,500 from project number CI 2113, American Rescue Plan Act for purposes thereof. Item N3, an ordinance budgeting and appropriating funds from the unappropriated fund balance from the general fund in the amount of $15,000 to council contingencies to reimburse payment for Goodnight Barn Foundation. Item N4, an ordinance approving and adopting the City of Pueblo's 2022-2023 action plan for the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, and Home Investment Partnership Act Grant, Home, authorizing the mayor for the City of Pueblo to submit the application together with all required and necessary certifications, assurances, and documentation to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and appropriating and budgeting CDBG and home funds therefore. Item N5, an ordinance authorizing assignment of a private activity bond allocation from the City of Pueblo to the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority pursuant to the Colorado Private Activity Bond Ceiling Allocation Act. Item N6, an ordinance approving an affordable housing development agreement and related documents between Crawford Townhomes LLLP, a Colorado Limited Liability Limited Partnership, and the Housing Authority of the City of Pueblo, a public body corporate and politic, and the City of Pueblo Municipal Corporation, and authorizing the mayor to execute same. Item N7, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2022 staffing ordinance by adding one full-time position entitled Food Project Coordinator to the authorized staffing of the mayor's office. Item N8, an ordinance amending 17-4-7 of Chapter 4, Title 17 of the Pueblo Municipal Code relating to landscape performance standards. Item N9, an ordinance amending Section 6 and 15 of Chapter 10 of Title 17 of the Pueblo Municipal Code relating to high-rise sign District Number 3. Item N10, an ordinance approving a fixed-base operator ground lease and operating agreement between the City of Pueblo Municipal Corporation and Freeman Holdings of Colorado LLC, a limited liability corporation, rescinding all previous agreements with Rocky Mountain FBO LLC and authorizing the mayor to execute same. Item N11, an ordinance approving and authorizing a memorandum of understanding between the City of Pueblo Municipal Corporation and Rocky Mountain Sur Jobs for Progress, Inc., regarding the Pueblo Food Projects Entrepreneur Startup Program and authorizing the mayor to execute same.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve all resolutions set forth in the consent agenda, pass the ordinance of all the consent agenda, setting the public hearings for Monday, July 11th, 2022, and order the ordinances to be published by title.
You have a second? Any discussion?
I just have one. On item N1, Ms. Solano, I had asked you a couple of times, I'd like to see the spec buildings that have been built in the past, what the cost of and how long they sat before they were occupied. And I still haven't received any of that. And one of the things is I'd like to show council how long these spec buildings sit there. And especially with us going into recession, do we really put up an $8.5 million spec building when we don't even have someone that's interested in it? Wouldn't the money just be better in the bank? And so we'd like to see the longevity of how long a spec buildings sit. Because at that point we have to maintain them. It costs us to maintain them. We're losing money. Yeah, I'd like to have those numbers. Yeah, before final presentation, I'd like to see that.
I'll follow up with the email immediately this evening.
Thank you.
Yep, Counselor Clark.
Yeah, I do want to hear the information. I think it'd be valuable, but I want everybody to know that the reason that we build these buildings beforehand is to take advantage of opportunities that are unique. And that's why we've been very successful in the past. I'm hoping that that success will be proven out once we get that information. But you cannot be, especially when you're attracting businesses, you can't be asleep at the switch. And in my mind, there's also an advantage in building them now and not waiting any longer as materials keep going up and inflation. Yeah. So I just wanted to make those comments for the record.
Okay, great. Call for the vote. Remember that?
Want to do a verbal? Oh, no, I need to go. I was just sitting here staring at you.
Passes 6-0. Madam Clerk, regular agenda.
Item M4, resolution approving amendment number 1 to the agreement for professional design consulting services in the amount of $680,890.75 between the City of Pueblo, a Colorado Municipal Corporation, and Bohannon Houston Inc. relating to the final design and construction documents for the Union and Main Streetscape project and authorizing the purchasing agent to execute same.
May we have a staff report?
Good evening, Madam President, members of council. The resolution before you is a resolution to award a design contract to Bohannon Houston. They are the design agents that assisted the city with the development of the master plan for the Main and Union project. So what was previously awarded was again, the project for the development of that master plan. When we solicited that contract, we also had line items included in there for repricing the associated design services as well when it came time to prepare the construction documents. So that's what this particular line item is about, is awarding or amending the contract to award the design phase of the project. That's conclusion of my report. I'll take any questions you've got.
We need a motion to approve, right?
Motion to approve.
Yeah. No, discuss.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, was Counselor Meister the second? Thank you.
So Andrew, when we started this and I believe we put it on the ballot for the public to approve in 2019. Is that correct?
You're talking about for the 1A funds specifically?
Correct.
So this is a project that is funded partially with 1A funds, but it's also out of a CDOT grant and also partially with city funds as well.
Okay, but it was initially only said that we were going to spend $100,000 on design.
Of the master plan, actually, there's two items on there. There are two different $100,000 items.
Well,
So
then that was a couple of years later, then it went up to 180,000, correct?
there are two adjacent from October 15th, 2019, two different ordinances that were passed.
Mhm.
So in the background paper, there's a little bit more information and I can pull some more if I need to follow up, but a little bit of detail there on those $200,000, excuse me, two $100,000 budget and appropriated budgets, appropriations to project budgets for the main and the union projects respectively. At that time, they were being handled kind of as two separate items. Since that time, we've also had conversations with the county where they're providing funding in a block for the main and union project together as one.
Mhm.
Going forward, the design phase and the construction work that will be funded from county, CDOT, and the city projects will come together as one project.
Okay, so we've actually, have we doubled or tripled? We
Neither.
double or?
You have done two different things.
Yeah,
The first
but
item,
you've come up with 680,000.
that is the amount that Bohannon Houston bid for the design. And let me say that
That's what
with
we're going to be paying, right?
that will be what we're paying for the design effort. So design in this case means the preparation construction documents.
Correct.
And the project plans will give us a biddable package for all the work that will be done under the
So-
project.
So the 100,000 was what, for a
Master
rendering?
plan, the master plan that
there's
was
one.
brought to council and the Board of County Commissioners and adopted last year. So that was a lot of public engagement, actually the development of the plan
It
itself.
says plan design in the paperwork. That's,
Correct. That may have been a poor choice of words in the background paper.
okay, that's the clarification I'm looking for because it would, the way it sounds is it, they ended up costing us way more than,
Two different things. Yes, ma'am.
okay.
So the design, the same designer, same firm bid on two different items. And in this case, we are extending the award or amending the contract to award that next line item, which is the actual preparation of those construction documents for the project. That's again, about $680,000 there for the design work. Keep in mind that the project is approximately a $8 or $9 million project is what's expected.
It says that we're needing about what, 2.7 million to finish the project?
We have approximately $2.1 million committed from the county that is to come yet. We also have $2 million that has already been budgeted and appropriated from the CDOT grant that we've received. And there's approximately $2.7 million from the initial estimate that would be coming from the city's contribution to the project. So again,
Is that already in the budget? The
not yet. So this,
2.7, so it'll be for next year.
it's coming. Yes, ma'am. So the again, the project budget will be based on the estimates that are put together as a result of the design work that goes on, right? This is where we put sharpen the pencil a little bit on the design or on the
Correct.
actual construction cost,
Correct.
estimate quantities of work, and based on final design requirements, that's where this estimate will come together.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So do we still need a work session on this or were you satisfied with
Yeah, I'm
that?
satisfied.
Okay, so we can go ahead and vote on it tonight. Any other discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
Item Q2, a resolution authorizing payment from the council contingency account in the 2022 general fund budget to the Pueblo Symphony Association, in the amount of $294.32 to support the 2022 season of the Pueblo Symphony Orchestra.
May we have a staff report?
I was the person that put that on the agenda and I just, as part of our Healthy the Pueblo Symphony, I just wanted the council to purchase tickets to their symphony in the month of August, which is different than the 4th of July, but it's their first symphony this summer. So it was just my desire to help them out in getting the tickets sold.
Great. Do we have a motion to approve? Do
Motion to approve resolution.
we have a second?
Second,
Any other discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
R, emergency ordinance. Item R1, public hearing, an emergency ordinance approving a lease between the City of Pueblo, a Colorado Municipal Corporation, and the Friday Health Plans Management Services Company, Inc., a Colorado Corporation, for Suite 300, 317 North Main Street, Pueblo, Colorado, 81003, and authorizing the mayor to execute said lease and ratifying the mayor's prior signature thereto.
May we have a staff report?
Madam President, members of council, as Joe O'Brien from Petco explained during the work session, a company called Friday Health Plans Management Services Company, Inc., with offices in Denver and Alamosa, is preparing to move to a permanent location in the city of Pueblo, but their property is not yet ready for occupancy. So they asked for a 90-day lease in the Pope Block building. It will be approximately 3,000 square feet. The only condition that they had was they had to move in on July the 1st. And the company will be paying rent at the rate of $17 per square foot. They'll be assigned 30 parking spaces. They will pay for those parking spaces at the rate of $30 per space per month. They've agreed to prepay both the rent and the parking spaces. This lease is for 90 days, but they have an option to extend the lease for an additional 60 days if they need to, and that is staff's report.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote. Oh, you have just,
Yeah.
Councilor Maestri?
Mr. Kukosik, does this meet the requirements as an emergency according to the charter?
Yes, because 500 jobs are at stake.
This company is bringing 500 jobs?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
S, ordinances, final presentation. Item S1, public hearing, and ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to sign a subrecipient agreement between the City of Pueblo, a Colorado Municipal Corporation, and NeighborWorks Southern Colorado, Inc., a Colorado nonprofit corporation for foreclosure prevention program as authorized by Section 603, Print C, Print 1, Print A of the American Rescue Plan Act and U.S. Treasury Final Rule 31, CFR 35.6, and authorizing the payment of $20,000 from project number CI 2113 American Rescue Plan Act for purposes thereof, introduced June 13, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez.
May we have a staff report?
This President, members of council, this ordinance approves a subrecipient agreement which awards ARPA funds in the amount of $20,000 to NeighborWorks for their foreclosure prevention project. And that is staff's report.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Miss Ashley?
Sorry, yes, I would like to. I'm obviously for this.
Hey, Ashley, can I go ahead and swear you in?
Yes,
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give before the Pueblo City Council is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So I just want to say, to the council that I really think it's incredibly important right now that we have the ability to help people prevent foreclosure. I've listened to this entire council today about the issues that have been brought up, you know, about our homeless and what is happening in our community. And we have more than 200 foreclosures up for sale. People who are not or should not be going through foreclosure, but are because of a worldwide pandemic. And I would like to get our staff up to a point where we have the ability to mitigate foreclosures at a level that can handle what is happening in our community. And that is what this particular piece and why we're asking for funds is happening. In 2020, and then finally passed in 2021, we have to have HUD certified counselors in order to do foreclosure mitigation or any type of HUD counseling. So this will allow us to bring on the HUD certified counselors that we need to be able to do the mitigation at the level that folks are coming to us. And I think it fits well within what ARPA funds are.
Great, thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Any discussion?
I just wanted to add that, you know, I had met with Ashley several weeks back. And this is one of those items where the state of Colorado is going to be coming forward to help on this on a much bigger scale. But in order not to lose any time on this, you know, NeighborWorks has the counselors and can start working on this right away. That's why the amount is only $20,000 at this point. But we've got a commitment from DOLA that they'll be coming forth with not only operating costs, but also money that could be utilized to help individuals that are on the verge of having their houses foreclosed. We have a huge housing problem. Why wouldn't we want to try to keep people in their homes? NeighborWorks has a track record of an average of about saving 10 homeowners from losing their homes. And so they're totally experienced in doing this. So I'll be voting in favor of this.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. Any other discussion? Okay. Oh, Counselor.
Well, I was just kind of wondering, and I'm not about people losing their homes, but I just have some questions that I'd like to have answered. DOLA was here last week. They stated that they put out an RFP for the facilitators of the money, and they haven't made any choices yet on who's going to facilitate the money down here. So how do we know that it's going to be Neighborhood Works? And they even sent us a link today. They sent all the counselors a link this week that said, if we had anybody that was in an emergency situation, that they can apply to that link and that they would take care of them. So why are we giving them the money before they've been approved to be the facilitator of the foreclosure program and the DOLA funds?
I think the reactions. Well, go ahead, Ashley. Why don't you answer that question?
If I can, yes. There was an RFP put out. We actually applied for those funds. There are some funds available, but non-counseling funds to help people. So we are the only organization south of Denver that has kept up a foreclosure mitigation counseling service since the Attorney General determined that we no longer were in foreclosure crisis in 2017. This is something new based on the pandemic, but we have kept up that service, and we are the only organization that has kept up that service. We are also one of two organizations south of Denver that have a HUD counseling mitigation service or HUD counseling certified, sorry. The only other organization is out in our counties east of us. So there is no other service along the Front Range. So we were approached by DOLA. We have approached DOLA for funds. We actually receive a significant amount of funds through them for other services that we do. So we do anticipate this, but we'd like to bring on more. We would like to bring on at least one more staff member who can get HUD certified in anticipation of this. I think it's incredibly important that we keep people in homes. And I think it's not just important for our citizens and for the homeowners, but for our economy locally.
I wanted to add to, if I could do that.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add that there are over 200 individuals right now in the queue with the Pueblo County Treasurer that are already have been put on notice of foreclosure. So this became, in fact, I had wanted this to be an emergency ordinance because I think it's that important for NeighborWorks to get started. After I talked to Rick Garcia, who is the director of DOLA, he indicated that NeighborWorks is the only potential entity that is qualified and certified to do this. So, but again, it's typical of government. They've got to go through all these motions, and time is of the essence here. And that's why I brought this ordinance forward.
Thank you. Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0. Item S2, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of operating ARP grant April 26, 2022 relating to award number CO-2022-013-00 between the City of Pueblo and the United States of America Department of Transportation, Federal Transit Administration, in the amount of $307,724, budgeting and appropriating $75,000 into project PT 2201 and budgeting and appropriating $102,724 into project PT 2202 and budgeting and appropriating $130,000 into project PT 2203, introduced June 13, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez. May we have a staff report?
Good evening, Madam President, members of council. So what we're going to do with this ordinance in front of you, it is to authorize the execution of our ARP grant into those three projects that were mentioned. The $75,000 is going to go to replace a shop truck. We're one of the lucky ones. We've actually located one. So once we get this process, we'll have a replacement vehicle, so we won't be all using one. The $102,724 is going to go into our union member bonus for their recovery, for their pandemic recovery fund. And the $130,000 is to replace all of the camera systems on all the buses. It's going to give us an option where you can actually log into them and monitor everything in the cloud. So it's going to be like real-time data. So when things come up, PD is going to be able to log in on their own and monitor real-time what's going on. And that concludes staff support.
Great, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion? Councilor Martinez?
Ben, for the cameras, how long do you think that that's going to take to get them installed?
6 months. That was the latest talk. We talked to them last week and they said, we can't install it. So part of the whole package is they have to come and pull all the old cable and rerun the new cable. So 6 months, we should be 100%.
And are they visual and audio?
Yes.
And how, like, is it like, the Ring camera where it kind of records in like perpetually or only like?
Everything automatically stores to the cloud.
Well, thanks, Ben.
Councilor Maestri?
Hi, Ben. You spoke really quick for me. Did you say that reimbursement to your staff for COVID funds? Is that what you said in there?
Yes, ma'am. We have $102,724
Okay.
into a 3/4 bonus program for part of their pandemic relief.
Okay, so the pandemic relief, how much are they getting it per person?
8,000 per. I'm sorry, 800 per person per quarter, 2,400 total. Too many zeros.
Thank you.
Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0. Item S3, public hearing and ordinance approving and accepting additional funds from the Colorado State Forest Service in the amount of $7,272.52 pursuant to the Teaming Up for Trees grant, budgeting and appropriating said funds into project number PL 1903, introduced June 13, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez. And we have a staff report.
Yes, good evening, President Graham, members of council. This ordinance is bringing in additional funds in the amount of $7,272.52 from the Colorado State Forest Service. It also budgets and appropriates those funds. They've actually, in the past several years, they've given us over, 27,900 back in 2019 and 2000, and in 2021, another $5,000. So this funds actually goes into a coffer where we plant trees. We replace our trees that have died, and we've lost quite a few of them in the last few snowstorms, and we've had a lot of beetle kill with the pine trees. So it definitely helps us.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody who wish to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve? Do
Motion to approve.
I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0. Item S4, public hearing and ordinance approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Pueblo, a Colorado Municipal Corporation, and Pueblo County relating to the use of 2016 ballot question 1A capital improvement program, budgeting and appropriating funds in the amount of $680,890.75, and authorizing the mayor to execute same, introduced June 13th, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez. May we have a staff report?
Good evening, Madam President and members of council. This ordinance is the partner to the previous one we just discussed, but it is the ordinance that will approve the intergovernmental agreement between the city and the county for the funds that we provided from the county for the Main and Union project for the design portion here. So this is specifically the $680,890.75 that was discussed as the amount for the design effort. That concludes my report, and I'll take any questions you might have.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? Councilor Flores?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this whole project really started with the passage of ballot issue A. So this is basically a project that was really initiated as a result of Pueblo County providing us the base amount, which we're utilizing in this project. Is that correct?
So this was before my time specifically. I can't speak exactly to that.
This
but
goes back to
it was
2016. And, my question all along has been, why has it taken so long to, utilize it? But I think you answered my question, because this was maybe a quarter. And it looks like you just.
right. This is a small section, and the county's provided funds in small tranches so far for this project. So this is the second allotment of funds toward this project. There's still a significant portion of funds remaining to be provided for the construction effort. But this part funds the design and gets us moving toward getting the project started.
So how much are we getting from the county? What's the total amount that we're going to be getting from the county?
I'll have to get the total. There's a little bit that was already provided, as I mentioned. I think it was the 200,000 for the master plan effort. The 680,000 here for the design, and then there's another approximately $2-ish million that is part of the construction effort. That's on top of CDOT's contribution of $2 million that was provided as a separate grant, and the city's contribution as well, which is estimated around $2.7 million right now.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Any other discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
Item S5, public hearing and ordinance transferring $270,000 from the 2022 unappropriated fund balance of the general fund to project CI 2205 Fire Station 6, 8, and 11 and budgeting and appropriating $270,000 for said project, introduced June 13, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez.
No, you're not done yet. May we have the staff report?
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, members of council, this ordinance before you is the final ordinance for the budget and appropriation of $270,000 for the construction management and design management services, as well as a little bit of a contingency, approximately $40,000 of contingency toward the design effort for the 3 fire station projects. Again, estimating those projects somewhere around 5 to 7 million or so, depending on final scope. But this represents the funds that will go toward the construction management and design management work. That concludes my report. I'll take any questions you have.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none. Anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second? Second. Okay. Any discussion? Counselor Maestri?
So you said it's going to end up costing us about 5 million just in the design phase?
No, ma'am, I'm sorry. So estimated construction cost just at this point, again, to be determined as a result of the completion of the contract documents, which is what this part of the project will do. This specific one is providing 270,000, 225,000 of that is for the design effort for the 3 fire stations. Approximately 40,000 of that is contingency for if there's any scope changes or anything related to design, just a small amount there so that we can either do environmental or geotechnical work that might need to be done on site. But that brings this project account whole through the completion of the design phase. This should be all we need for design, completing the design work. At some point in the future, once the project scope is identified completely, we'll be back for the construction part of the work.
Okay.
Call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
Item S6, public hearing and ordinance submitting zoning restrictions to rezone 179.38 acres into the Wild Horse Crossing annexation site from County 1A to City 1A Agricultural 1, introduced June 13, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez. Planning and Zoning Commission voted 7-0 on May 11th, 2022 to recommend approval.
May we have a staff report?
Thank you, President Graham, members of council. The applicant is proposing to rezone the entire Wild Horse annexation area, 179.38 acres, into an A1 agricultural zone district in accordance with the annexation agreement, which was approved on January 31st, 2022. Prior to development, areas that contain uses not allowed in the A1 zone district must be rezoned according to the Pueblo Regional Comprehensive Plan. The Wild Horse annexation area has an approved master plan that includes commercial uses within the southern portion, a small portion of high-density residential west of the commercial uses, and light industrial within the northern portion of the annexation area. Future rezonings will occur prior to development. The A1 zone district is a holding zone in the interim. Madam President, staff requests that all documents from the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding this matter, case number Z2203, dated May 11th, 2022, be made part of the record for this hearing. The owners of the property are present and here to speak in favor.
So ordered. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance?
Would you please raise your right hand? Please raise your right hand. Like, would you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give before the Pueblo City Council is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please state your name for the record.
John Singletary.
Thank you.
I'm a part of the Wild Horse development, and we concur with everything. We're just following our steps that are necessary, outlined by staff and the council. So this was just another part of the process. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Try to.
Thank you for being here. Is there anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none. Anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none. We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
Thank you very much.
Item S7, public hearing and ordinance approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Pueblo Municipal Corporation and the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment by and through the Division of Workers' Compensation for the rental of courtroom number 2 in the Pueblo Municipal Court, introduced June 13, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez.
May we have a staff report?
Yes, Madam President, members of council. This is an ordinance just approving an agreement for rental of our courtroom, our second courtroom. Right now, that courtroom is used as needed. We use it every other Friday for our code enforcement dockets and then as needed. But we were approached by the workers' compensation by a judge for them, asking if they could use our second courtroom. And so we have the availability, so we offered to allow them to do that. So it's only on an as needed basis, so there isn't any set schedule. But everything's set forth in the agreement. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may.
Great, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Oh, Councilor Maestri.
Why is the rent going into the general fund and not into the municipal, like into your fund?
All revenue that we receive from municipal court goes into the general fund. So under the ordinances and under the, I believe it's a charter, we're not able to earmark any money for anything specific. There's only a couple of specific things that get earmarked. So everything else goes into the general fund.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
Item S8, public hearing and ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to execute 1, a contract to buy and sell real estate between the City of Pueblo, Colorado Municipal Corporation as seller, and Inhab X LLC, a Colorado Limited Liability Company as buyer, and 2, a contract to buy and sell real estate between the City of Pueblo, Colorado Municipal Corporation as buyer, and Inhab X LLC, a Colorado Limited Liability Company as seller, relating to RFP 22-017 for the sale of property located in the bluff section of the blocks, introduced June 13, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez.
May we have a staff report?
Madam President, members of council. We have a local developer named John Wark who is here tonight. Good news, he wants to build a 100-unit apartment house. And we've been describing this as the bluffs section of the blocks. He was interested in purchasing 2 parcels owned by the city. So to be fair, we issued an RFP. I think there were a couple of bids received. Mr. Warks was the best bid. And his proposal was that he was going to pay for the 2 parcels. The large one being about 11,000 square feet, he's going to pay $4,000. A smaller one, about half that size, he was going to pay $2,000. But as part of his proposal, he agreed to transfer to the city a parcel that we were interested in, a big parcel, 39,500 square feet at no cost to the city. So this ordinance approves 2 contracts to buy and sell. Contract number 1, he's going to pay $6,000 for the parcel 2 parcels that he wanted. The second contract is for the city to buy the parcel that he's donating to us for $10. And that is staff's report.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve on final presentation.
Any discussion? Counselor Maestri?
Can I please have the date of the RFP?
February 4th, 2022, RFP number 22-017.
Counselor Martinez.
Are we good? Yeah, okay. I'm wondering if there's a map of the parcels that we're talking about. By chance?
Not with us tonight. I can.
I'm wondering if, I know that at one point when we talked about it, it was the road that went down to the kayak park. Is that the parcel that's in question?
Mr. Warwick,
Sorry, John.
would you explain the location of these lots? You'll have to be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give before the Pueblo City Council is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please state your name for the record. Thank you.
Turn your mic on, Mr. Work. Thank you. Nope. No, there we go.
The road, the parcel that we are conveying to the city in exchange for these others is the parcel with the road that goes down to the Whitewater Park.
Okay, so that's gonna be the cities.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Any other questions? Oh, go ahead. Keep going. Just keep going.
And then I know about, so the stairway up by the Union Bridge. Is that another parcel or no?
That's a parcel that we have, but is not changing hands or is not part of this discussion.
Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Wark, please stay there. There may be questions about the next ordinance.
Item S9, public hearing and ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to execute a contract to buy and sell real estate between the city of Pueblo, a Colorado Municipal Corporation, and Bluffs Opportunity Zone Business LLC, a Colorado Limited Liability Company, for the sale of property located at the Devlin Place subdivision of the County of Pueblo, State of Colorado, introduced June 13th, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez.
May we have a staff report?
Madam President, members of council, while we were negotiating the land swap, Mr. Wark discovered that there's a fourth parcel of land owned by the city that is needed for his apartment complex. And this ordinance approves the contract to buy and sell real estate. Mr. Wark will purchase this parcel, and it's very thin and not very long, for $1,000. And that is staff's report.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance?
Just so you know, since I'm here, I can tell you that it's a very narrow, small piece that's completely surrounded by our current property. So it has no value to anybody, really.
Great. Anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, any discuss, or do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Any other discussion? Councilor Maestri?
We would just like to see where it's at. Located. I mean, I don't know where Devlin Place is. I'd just like to see where it's at.
Yeah, it's hard to describe where it's at, but I can describe that it's a former street, a very small street. It's never been used by the city or anybody. embedded in Doug Miller's property, which we acquired. We didn't even know that the parcel existed. And the city didn't know the parcel existed until we were doing the survey work. So it's hard for me to tell you exactly where it is, other than a very small piece of land right in the middle of the land that we bought from Doug Miller. I know that's kind of vague because you don't know what that means, but
Is it on the riverside?
no, it's on the other side of Pearl Street. It would be, it's very close to Sarah Martinez's house. It's describing a location without a map is difficult. Yeah, let's do that, if that's okay.
You need to see this?
Yes. Was there an RFP for this one also? Would we convey a piece of property without an RFP? Okay. Let me ask you this, though. And no offense to Mr. Work, but say his property, his project doesn't go through. So you're saying it doesn't have any value now. But say his project doesn't go through and he sells his property, that adds a lot of value to it. Is there something in this agreement that says that if his project doesn't go through, that he has to convey it back to us? In any one of the.
We are quick claiming.
Well, he's borrowing money if he borrows the money. But what I'm saying is if he doesn't get the financing to do we have all of these little things that make his property a whole. And say he just doesn't go forward with it. He doesn't owe any money on it, but it does make that piece very valuable.
I don't think the piece has any value. It's in the middle of another piece of land that Mr. Work owns, so it would have no value to anybody but Mr. Work.
Oh, I completely and totally get that. But I've also dealt in real estate for many, many years. And it might just be a little piece here and a little piece here and a little piece here, but it makes a whole. Mm-hmm.
Of the existence of the city of Pueblo.
Do you have is it platted to where we're able to exchange title work with Mr. Work? In one of these pieces?
It was the survey and the title work that showed this anomaly.
Mhm.
The city owns this narrow.
Yeah, but do we have it in title to where we can convey that title to Mr. Work?
No, we're quit claiming. We make no warranty as to title. He takes it, hey, whatever we have, you have. There's no warranty on this particular parcel.
All right, thank you.
Call for the vote. Counselor Winter?
John, I think the problem is that, at least this is my opinion, is that this should have all been done probably in open session with the Conservancy District and just in regular open session so that we could all hear it at once and the public could hear it. It just seems weird that all this went on kind of behind closed doors and the RFP was put out, kind of already planned to do so, this business with you. So I think that's the issue. I don't really think it needed to go out for RFP. I think it needed to be discussed in open session. just like we did just now. So I think that's the issue. So I think we're all for this land going to you. I just think it was the process that we're having an issue with.
Counselor Flores.
The process was perfect. There was no nefarious thing here. There's nothing in the back happening. This was straight up a real estate deal
that-
on these little pieces.
That's not true.
Don't
Oh, I'm
interrupt
sorry.
me,
I'm sorry.
please. So, I mean, I don't want the public to believe that there's something nefarious going on when there's nothing. This process, and I've met with you several times, every council member here, you could have walked them, held their hand and showed them that this road that we're talking about never was developed by any person. It was owned by the city that never utilized this road. So I don't understand why we're making such a big deal out of this. You need that little piece of land just to incorporate it with, it's completely surrounded by your property. It makes no sense to say that anything was done improper. I think our legal counsel did everything by the letter of the law. We followed, the RFPs for the first two plots and the other. And this piece of land is just crazy. It's like a scar in the middle of all this stuff. And you should have every right to purchase it. Thank you.
I agree, Dennis. What I'm saying is that we had executive session and we were told that we were going to trade property with Mr. Work. I said, how are you going to RFP that? Then it was like, oh, well, I don't know how we're going to. So that's the issue. It should have been done in open session. Like I said, you could have had Corinne Kaler here or Don Banner here to talk about these little pieces of land, and it could have been settled just then. I think that's the issue I have with it, because it was not really an executive session topic. It should have been done in open session. But I'm all for you getting this property in the way that you're getting it. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, we are constantly looking for consistency with land exchange, property exchange, and we're just looking for consistency and so that we are presented with the right things. It has really nothing to do with you, John.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
I'm not taking it personally, and I
Thank you.
want the council to know and be comfortable that land that has sat for 100 years
Mhm.
unkept,
Mhm.
vacant, is going to turn into, a large 6-story building.
Mhm.
So the good news is it's going to turn out real well.
Mhm.
Just
We should probably RFP that park that just sits there underdeveloped.
Counselor Flores, did you?
I'm
have
sure
something?
that's a nice person.
Just for the record, the Public Conservancy District has nothing to do with this real estate deal. Why they were brought up, I don't know.
Okay. I agree with Mr. Flores, and I think that this was done in the proper manner. It was an executive session because we were talking about negotiations with land. So I don't think there would have been another way for us to do this. And call for the vote. Passes 6-0. Item S10, public hearing and ordinance amending section 3-3- section 3-2-2 of chapter 2 of title 3 of the Pueblo Municipal Code relating to the powers and duties of the fire chief, introduced June 13, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez. May we have a staff report?
Whoops, sorry, President Graham, members of council, pursuant to Colorado Constitution, Colorado revised statute, the city has the power to legislate upon, provide or contract for and regulate the furnishings of emergency ambulance services. With that, the fire chief is going to oversee that contract for compliance. And this is basically a housekeeping ordinance so that we match the state regulations. And I'll take any questions.
Chief, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
We have a second? I'll second. Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Thank you, Chief. Passes 6-0.
Item S11, public hearing. An ordinance amending the fiscal year 2022 staffing ordinance by adding five full-time positions to the authorized staffing for the purposes of supporting community development activities introduced June 13, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez.
May we have a staff report?
Yes, good evening, Madam President and members of City Council. The purpose of the ordinance before you is to amend city staffing levels in several city departments through the addition of 5 full-time positions with the specific intent of supporting development activities. I'm not going to go into great detail on the background, as I know that City Council has already had 2 work sessions on this in the last month. However, for the sake of public hearing, the background outlines that there is a significant change in the volume of development activities. We have a historic increase in the number of subdivision applications as an example. With that increase, that brings with it city staff duties and requirements that exceed the current staff capacity. The ordinance, if approved, would specifically add a deputy director of public works, a civil engineer transportation, an associate engineer 1, and converting a vacant funded pavement management technician to an associate field engineer within the Public Works Department. This ordinance would also add 1 position to planning through the addition of a land use technician and 1 position to stormwater with a civil engineer drainage. The anticipated cost of adding these positions to include equipment, training, salaries, benefits for the remainder of 2022 would be about $244,000. You annualize that, it's $571,000. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. And I know that we have at least one of the department heads affected by this available as well.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? Call for the vote. Passes 5-1.
Item S12, public hearing and ordinance amending section 6-5-16 of chapter 5 of title 6 of the Pueblo Municipal Code relating to the fiscal year 2022 classification and pay plan by establishing the pay scale for civil engineer transportation introduced June 13, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez.
May we have a staff report?
Yes, good evening. Again, Madam President, members of council, the ordinance establishes the 2022 salary range for the new classification of civil engineer transportation as approved in the previous staffing ordinance. As this is a new class, no salary range exists for it at this time. So that's why we needed to do this ordinance to establish that. It does set the salary range consistent with other civil engineers in the city. The anticipated cost if the position is filled this year, which is the hope, is approximately $53,000 for 5 months. Annualized cost is about $124,800 to include salary and benefits. I believe that Public Works can absorb the cost of this in 2022 through existing salary savings out of the general fund. However, as an ongoing position, obviously, it will affect the 2023 budget as well. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
To approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote. Oops. Passes 5-1.
Item S13, public hearing and ordinance amending section 6-5-16 of chapter 5 of title 6 of the Pueblo Municipal Code relating to the fiscal year 2022 classification and pay plan by establishing the pay scale for Deputy Director of Public Works introduced June 13, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez.
May we have a staff report?
Yes, Madam President and members of City Council, similar to the last ordinance, this ordinance establishes the 2022 salary range for the new class of Deputy Director of Public Works as approved in the previous staffing ordinance. Again, no current range exists for this. The anticipated cost of this position is filled, which would be about $69,495 for about 4 months or 5 months of 2022, annualized cost of about $163,639. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve on final presentation.
Do you have a second? Any discussion? Call for the vote. Passes 5-1. At this time, Counselor Martinez Ortega will be exiting the building, the room, for a conflict of interest.
Item T1, public hearing and ordinance amending the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Pueblo and the International Brotherhood of Police Officers Local 537, introduced June 13th, 2022 by Counselor Sarah Martinez.
May we have a staff report?
Yes, Madam President, members of council, the ordinance before you amends the collective bargaining agreement between the city and City of Pueblo and the International Association of Brotherhood of Police Officers, IBPO local number 537. By way of background, the city is concluding a 3-year agreement, which was scheduled to end in 2022. Due to the COVID pandemic, the pay increases associated with the second year of that contract were held in abeyance. Therefore, this then would push it into 2023 as the final 3rd year. You have already approved that extension by charter requirement back in May, which approved a 2.5% pay increase. The ordinance before you therefore amends the labor agreement, providing a 7% wage increase versus the 2.5% already approved and was negotiated 3 years, almost 4 years ago at this point. The desire to amend the wages is based obviously on inflationary pressures, but also to make sure that we are competitive with market. And we know that our sworn police positions are currently paid below the target market. Additionally, the amendment would grant the city the option to extend the agreement for 1 successive year term. So if this is approved this evening, just know that with council, we would be back again this time next year to ask if council would like to then extend into 2024. The total estimated cost of the 7% wage increase to include step increases is about $1.4 million. You had already approved 2.5%, which was about $645,000. So the delta here is about a $761,000 difference. The union has obviously been very involved in these discussions and is supportive of this change, this amendment. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote. Passes 5-0. Okay. At this time, I will be recusing myself and Councilwoman Martinez will be taking over.
I'm president now, guys.
Buckle up.
Item T2, public hearing, ordinance approving and enacting a collective bargaining agreement between the City of Pueblo and the Pueblo Association of Government Employees commencing January 1, 2023, and authorizing the mayor to execute same, introduced June 13, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez.
Here we have a staff report.
Yes, suddenly, Madam President, Martinez and members of council. The ordinance before you enacts the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Pueblo and the Pueblo Association of Government Employees, which is our general service union commencing in January of 2023. Our current collective bargaining agreement with that group expires at the end of this year. It was a 3-year agreement. The city purchase charter timelines began our negotiation process back in May. And we have concluded that and have reached tentative agreement, the provisions of which have been ratified by the Page Union and are before you as City Council tonight for approval. Just to give you some of the basic highlights, the successor contract includes wage provisions of a 6.5% wage increase for 2023. That's based on a regional adjusted consumer price index strategy that we've used in previous contract years. Subsequent years to that, with this 3-year contract would use the same strategy with a CPI adjusted. Additional salary range adjustments were made for about 25 additional classifications beyond the 6.5%. These were classes that were significantly paid under market according to the Colorado Municipal League survey data. It doesn't obviously address all of the deficiencies in the bargaining unit, but it is a good start. And we're hoping that the compensation study will help us address other deficiencies. Cost of these wage increases and all the step increases associated with it would be about $1.6 million, $1,577,160. Other financial items included an increase in steel-toed boots, special protective safety wear for those that need that, from $175 a year to $200. That was a minimal cost of about $3,300. There was also negotiated an increase from 1 to 2 hours of overtime for those that are called back when they're on standby. And then a $25 per month increase towards health insurance contributions, which would be about $68,000. Other less obvious financial items, Juneteenth was added as a paid holiday. And then we had a number of housekeeping items, clarifying funeral leave, shift differential, and cleaning up our position appendices. They were just really housekeeping items. That's basically the summary of the changes. I can tell you that I have sat at the negotiation table for the last 13 years. And this negotiation session was very respectful, collaborative, and professional. They haven't always been that way. And so I just would like to personally thank leadership of the Page Union, President BJ Aragon and Vice President Lisa Pate for their part in contributing to that experience. It was a very successful negotiation. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Pacheco, for that staff report. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? If it's going to be both BJ and Lisa, can you both be sworn in before?
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give before the Pueblo City Council is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please state your names for the record. Thank you.
Page supports this ordinance. I urge you to vote. Oh. Page supports this ordinance and urge you to vote to approve this 3-year contract. Our workers have tried and will continue to try to make the city of Pueblo look the best and represent them in every way that we can. So please feel free to contact us on anything.
Thank you. Thank you, BJ. Thank you, Lisa. Is there anyone else wanting to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, is there anyone wishing to testify against this ordinance? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
And a second. Or is there any discussion? Questions for Ms. Pacheco? I just think it's great to have that relationship. So thanks to the Page Union and thanks to HR for having a good collaborative conversation with that. With that, I'd like to call for the vote. Passes 5-0. I would now entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I move to go into executive session for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategies for negotiations, and or instructing negotiators under CRS section 24-6-402(4)(e), and the following additional details are provided for identification purposes. To instruct negotiators regarding economic development projects and issues presented by the Pueblo Economic Development Corporation, acting as agent for the city of Pueblo.
Can I get a second?
Second.
We are now. Oh, and then I have to call for the vote. Call for the vote. And it's going a voice vote or, okay. Counselor Maestri. Passes 6-0. We are now going into executive session.
So